Let me start with the Pharisees and the Herodians. We don't really know who the Herodians were, but they were associated with Herod the king. Now, Herod was a piece of work. Herod was not a king by nature. He was a Middle Eastern politician who always seemed to end up on the right side of the argument. His great patron was Queen Cleopatra. This is Herod the Great that we're talking about, who lived at the time Jesus was born. He's the one who tried to kill Jesus. He was a politician, and the Romans knew he was useful. First, he backed Mark Antony, and then he backed his rival Octavian Augustus. But Octavian knew that he would be useful. So Herod got along with the Romans, and Herod petitioned to be made king of the Jews. And he wasn't even a Jew. He was an Arab. But his family had been converted to Judaism about a century before Christ. And he married the last princess of the ruling dynasty, and he just rebuilt. He had a great sense of building. He rebuilt everything. He rebuilt the temple, and he made it as glorious and more glorious than the Temple of Solomon. He was an amazing man. He also managed to kill his own sons. He was a bloodthirsty tyrant who was terrified of losing his throne. He had secret police and informers everywhere. When he was about to die, King Herod the Great had the leading citizens of Israel arrested, and he gave orders that they should be killed the moment he died, so that at least there would be weeping in Israel when he died. And when he died, they were all freed. So nobody wept in Israel when Herod died. His sons, his grandsons, the sons he didn't manage to kill, but his grandsons are mostly the ones you read about at the time of Jesus' ministry. But they had people everywhere listening to everything. Nothing happened without what we would call the FBI, the secret police, whatever you want to call them, listening. Now, the Pharisees were not clergy. The Pharisees were a political religious party. There were about 10,000 of them. And you became a Pharisee by swearing to uphold all of the points, all 613 points of the law and the rabbinical interpretations thereof. Like how much water you had to wash your hands, how much water did it take? It was exhausting. And they were kind of religious vigilantes. They made sure people kept kosher. The Herodians and the Pharisees were unlikely political partners, but they were both worried about Jesus, because both the government party and this party of religious fanatics wanted to make sure that things went along without any problem. They liked their temple, they liked their government, just let's not make any waves with the Romans. And they knew that Jesus was going to be trouble. And so they decided to band together to get him. So the Pharisees went and asked him a question, and they brought some Herodians along because they knew, this is my suspicion, they knew these Herodians would make sure that the government knew and the Romans knew if Jesus gave the wrong answer. So they asked, is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar? Now, Caesar is the title of the Roman emperor, and, well, the Romans were an occupying force. However, there was peace. These different factions couldn't kill each other. The roads were good, the shipping lanes were good, piracy was down. You could make a living. It wasn't so bad. Well, is it legal to pay taxes to Caesar? Show me the coin of the tribute. They handed him, I think it says, a silver denarius. Well, when they handed him the coin, Jesus had them. They didn't have him. Because coins usually had inscriptions of gods or goddesses. This is where the bit about money being kosher comes in. Remember the story about the money changers in the temple? Why would there be money changers in the temple? Well, because you couldn't make an offering to God unless the coin was kosher. You took your Roman money, and when you got into the temple, before you got into the sacred part, you exchanged your money for Jewish money that had no images of men or beasts or gods or birds, just had maybe floral decorations, maybe had an image of the temple on it. You got temple shekels. So you didn't go into the court with pagan money, because the emperors were divine and their images were on the coin. So to carry a coin that was minted by the Romans meant you were carrying an image of a false god. And you call yourself a Pharisee. You follow? They were carrying around the images of pagan gods. And they knew it, because they knew they couldn't go into the inner part of the temple with this non-kosher money. So Jesus had them. They were hypocrites. They were play actors. That's what the word means. But the telling part of this is not simply that he says, pay to Caesar what is Caesar's, because the coinage belonged to the government. It still does. The money in your pocket is not yours. How true that is.